Hey everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today I just wanted to show you all of the pickups I've gotten, DVD, Blu-ray, 4K, over the past month or so. So I'm just going to show the DVDs first because the least amount of people probably care about those. Just a couple. The first one I also got on Blu-ray, so I'm not going to talk too much about it until I get to it there. I got the Criterion copy of it, but it's just Bob Dylan's Don't Look Back, the documentary. This is one of my favorite documentaries of all time. This is my favorite musician of all time. And, yeah. D.A. Panabaker just passed away a couple days ago. He was 94, so it wasn't like it was, like, sudden or unexpectedly young, but it's still really sad. And, but yeah, the reason I got this DVD release as well is because it came with a couple of little additions that the Criterion does not have. It's got this little thick booklet with transcriptions in it, which I haven't had a chance to really look through yet, but it looks really interesting. Probably next time I watch the movie I'll give that a go. I have no control over my money. That's why I bought it 2 times. Alright, I collect things. So, and it also comes with my favorite Bob Dylan song, the video of Subterranean Homesick Blues. A little, like... I wanted to have it, okay? I wanted to have it, so I bought it. I'm not a minimalist. I'm not a... Oh, my light. I'm not a, I like... So I bought it, you know? I bought it because it has those things. And the other thing I got was just a replacement that I have needed for a really long time, since I first got my dog, actually, a few years ago. One of the first things he did when he got into the apartment, which he hadn't done, like, since, but just that time, he peed on the floor, and what happened to be on the floor, and I never keep my things on the floor, and this is why, but I just had to get a replacement copy of Jackass: The Lost Tapes. Jackass was just, I grew up with Jackass, Viva La Bam, Wild Boys, that whole group of CKY. So I have that whole thing, and it was bothering me that I didn't have that copy in my collection again, so I just picked that up. So the next, I'll just go into Blu-rays now, because those are the only 2 DVDs I picked up. The first thing I'll show you is the box set. I got one box set on eBay. And it was for a movie I should have had a long time ago. It's one of my favorite movies, and it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This is the collector's box set. I'm sure you can find an unboxing on here. I'm not going to, like, take it all apart. You guys aren't, like, that enthralled. But yeah, the, comes with, like, cards and stuff. The cards are still in wrapping. There was no wrap on this, but it's pretty much new. It looks like somebody opened it and then just sold it. But, yeah. This is the DVD part of it, or the Blu-ray. Comes with some stuff here. It comes with a bunch, like, it's a really cool release. Really cool release. So, if you don't have the movie, or if you wanted to upgrade, I would recommend grabbing that. It's a really thick one. So, yeah, I picked up One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Next up, a movie from one of my favorite directors that I had held off on getting when it first came out, just because I like to kind of hold off and get things a little after they come out, just to save some money, unless I need to see a movie right away for whatever reason, unless I'm, like, dying to see it again. And I just never really got around to getting it. I love the movie. I think this is his most underrated, probably. One of his most underrated. His most underrated. I love it. I think it's masterful on many different fronts, and I feel like it's a lot of people's one of their least favorite of his. But anyway, The Hateful Eight. Like I said, I love this movie. I love the plot. I love the setting of it, just all of them being stuck in one place. The cast is so good. Especially Samuel L. Jackson, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Tim Roth are 3 of my favorite, like, Tarantino, or I know Jennifer Jason Leigh isn't, but Tim Roth and Samuel L. Jackson are 2 of my favorite Tarantino regulars. And then Jennifer Jason Leigh, I just love as an actress. And everybody else in this, obviously Kurt Russell, Walton Goggins, Michael Madsen, Bruce Dern. So, yeah, grabbed that off of eBay for a cheap price. I was like, and like in light of seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I really loved, I was like, okay, I need to get this before that comes out. So I picked that up. The next one I got was a replacement for a DVD copy, because I swear when this first came out, it wasn't available on Blu-ray. I saw a couple of people on here showing Blu-rays of it, or maybe only one person, but then I looked and I swear it was only a DVD release, which I always thought was weird. But then recently, after I got this, I was kind of like, maybe I should check again, and I did, and lo and behold, they did have it available on Blu-ray, and that's Jackass 3.5. If you didn't grow up with these, they wouldn't be your cup of tea, but for those of you who did, you know the deal. It's just an upgrade. So yeah, Jackass 3.5. The next up is another one that I should have had in my collection. I always had the second one. For like the longest time I had the second one because it was gifted to me. And just for the longest time I have been looking in my collection and wondering, like, why do I only have the second one? It's weird. I like the first one better. So just recently I found this at a really cheap price, and it's just The Hangover. I wanted to just make sure I got the slipcover so it matches number 2. I'm not going to get number 3. I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, I like The Hangover. It's fun to watch if you obviously just want to turn your brain off. But I mean, it's not like my favorite thing in the world. I think it was a little overhyped. But yeah, still a good flick. The next one is just one of those essentials. I'm still kind of filling out the essentials in my collection, and I hadn't gotten this one yet. And then a strange urge came over to me to watch it, so I picked it up. And that is The Sixth Sense. Literally nothing needs to be said about this. It's The Sixth Sense. I got it. It was cheap. Alright, next up, I picked up one of my favorite movies of all time. My favorite Al Pacino movie of all time. It's the 40th anniversary edition of Dog Day Afternoon. If you haven't seen this, just go watch it. Please go watch it. It's so good. This is one of the most rewatchable movies of all time, in my opinion. It's, Al Pacino is brilliant in this, and so is John Cazale. It's so funny, like, subtly funny, and sad, and kind of heartwarming, and just, like, it's insane that this movie is based off of a real story. If you've seen it, you know what I mean, or if you know the story, you know what I mean. It's just an absolutely insane situation, and this movie is such an easy watch because it's just so brilliantly done. Obviously directed by Sidney Lumet, but yeah, just, I'm very happy to have that. I should have had that one a long time ago, for sure. The next one I have, I never hear anybody talk about this ever, which I think is kind of weird. I mean, maybe it's not weird. It's a tennis movie, so like most people wouldn't be running out to go get it. But as a non-fan of tennis, this movie was so good, and I had a really good time watching this. I watched it for a second time, like the next day. But it's Borg versus McEnroe. Definitely my favorite tennis movie, and one of my favorite sports movies in general, actually. I'm not huge on sports movies, but this is one of my favorites. And it's got Shia LaBeouf as John McEnroe, and yeah, this is the way that this movie is focused. Okay, so if you don't know the story, like if you weren't alive then, or if you just don't know the story, Borg versus McEnroe, based on a true story, 1980 Wimbledon competition match, and the match between these two, and that match that was considered one of the best of all time. I don't know if it still is, because I'm not, like I said, I'm not into the tennis scene, but at least for a really long time it was considered the best match of all time. And these two were totally kind of opposing characters in the media's eye, and Bjorn Borg was kind of this icy, he didn't show his emotions much, he was considered the best in the world. He was going, I think, for his 5th Wimbledon championship here. And then there was John McEnroe, played by Shia LaBeouf. He threw these kind of tantrums on court, and he was this loose cannon, and he was really, really, really talented, but he kind of created this tabloidy name for himself just because of his outbursts on the court. as you can see, the directors knew what they were doing when they cast Shia LaBeouf in the role, because it's very Shia-like recently. And this is from 2017, I want to say. Yeah, 2017. And Shia was born to play that part, and there was a part in this movie where he's kind of yelling at the press to pay attention to the tennis, not to the, antics that he has on court. And it's very meta to Shia LaBeouf. But, yeah, the way that it's focused is mostly on Bjorn Borg and his backstory. I'd say it's about 70-30 in terms of screen time and backstory. I would have even liked this movie a bit better if that were flipped, even if it was 50-50, but to me, John McEnroe was just a more interesting character and was a more interesting person, in my opinion. But it was still a really good movie, and I did want to see, there were a couple of Shia movies I hadn't seen, so I wanted to check this out before Honey Boy came out, which is my personal most anticipated movie of the year. I know technically it already came out at Sundance, but it's going to be out later this year. The trailer is coming out at 6 a.m. on Thursday, and I'm so excited for that. But yeah, I wanted to catch up on Shia LaBeouf movies, so I did. And this one is a really, really good one, so I went out and I bought it. I didn't go out and buy it. I bought it on eBay, so I don't know why I said I went out and bought it, but I didn't buy it on eBay either. I bought it on Amazon, and it's really late, so my mind is gone. Alright, the last Blu-ray before I get to the 4Ks I picked up was one not many people liked at all. A lot of people thought that it was just kind of mishandled, it was not done very well, and I know the criticisms, and I agreed with them at first, but now I've kind of grown to really like this movie for what it is, or at least enjoy it. It's fun to turn your mind off and watch this. And it's Suburbicon with Matt Damon and Julianne Moore and Oscar Isaac. And like I said, I understand the criticisms. Should the Coen brothers have directed their script? Yes. George Clooney, just because he was in some Coen brothers movies, it doesn't mean that he should have directed this. That being said, yes, it was disjointed. The race aspect of it, I see how it connected to the story, and it definitely did, and it could have been handled in a really cool way, but it was kind of disjointed from the rest of the story. But that being said, I enjoy it. It's a fun little popcorn flick for if you want to turn your brain off. Like I said, Oscar Isaac was only in 2 scenes, but he came in like a lightning bolt. He really brought that kind of Coen brothers zaniness to this. His scenes with Julianne Moore were great. Matt Damon was okay. He was no performance like to write home about, but the one who really carried this movie was Noah Jupe, the young boy in it. He carried the entire, I think he was 12 when he filmed this. This is from 2017. Noah Jupe carried this movie on his back. You would know Noah Jupe as Marcus, the youngest son, or the youngest living son in A Quiet Place, as well as he was in Wonder as Jack Will. So you would know him from that. And he's funny, he's also going to be in that Shia LaBeouf movie Honey Boy that's coming out. If you haven't heard of Honey Boy, look it up, because I think a lot of you would be interested in it. But he was by far the best part of this movie, and I personally think it was interesting, just the kind of moral downward spiral they all went to. But yeah, I personally enjoyed it. And I watched the kind of like behind the scenes stuff on the features, and you could tell George Clooney just had a really fun time making this, and he seemed passionate about it, and that kind of like probably also helps my view of it, because I just can appreciate a project that a director enjoys, even if it's not particularly great. Is this a guilty pleasure? I wouldn't consider it a guilty pleasure, but I just enjoy it, you know? So yeah, that's all my Blu-rays. I'm just filming this a couple of minutes into the future because I realized that I forgot a few movies. It's all the Criterions I got this month, and I got 4 of them, so I don't know why I was forgetting about this, including the movie I told you I would tell you more about, which was Bob Dylan's Don't Look Back once again. I mean, there's not much else to tell. This one's from 1967, based on Dylan's 1965 tour. A ton of special features, just a great Criterion release as usual. And yeah, it's got a nice little booklet here. And yeah, so it was time. He's my favorite musician, and 60s Bob Dylan, even 70s to a point, was my all-time favorite music, or is my all-time favorite music. And yeah, so I had to pick it up. It was time. And because I guess I was in that 60s musician mode, I don't know. I also picked up A Hard Day's Night, The Beatles, obviously. Two very different tone films, but apparently I was just in a mid-60s musician mood. But yeah, this one is also a great release. Big booklet. You can find all these unboxings online. I don't need to, just like with the Cuckoo's Nest, I don't need to show you. If you haven't seen this movie, I would recommend it, just if you're into the Beatles and stuff. It's not like, if you're a film fan, you have to see this movie, but if you're a film and a Beatles fan, you have to see this movie. I love it. I love this movie. I think it's so funny. I love anything with the Beatles. This one's a 1964 release, originally, obviously. And all that nice special features in this release. So yeah, I picked that up. Next up is one of my favorite movies with one of my favorite actors, definitely my favorite actor from that time period, and that's The Philadelphia Story from 1940. And my favorite actor from the 30s and 40s by a landslide is Jimmy Stewart. I love him. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. And of course, this also has Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn. But yeah, I hadn't owned this for a really long time. I'm not quite sure why. I had it on DVD for a while there, but I finally just decided to bite the bullet and grab the Criterion. It's not as great of a release as all these other ones. Like, it doesn't come with like the big box, but I mean, everything else is solid. Like, the artwork is solid, and it comes with a much smaller booklet. But I really don't mind. They can't all be, some big releases. It's got plenty of special features there. And yeah, if you haven't checked this out, this you do need to check out if you haven't seen it. Really, really, really great film. Acting, everything about it is just so great. Apparently this is really great because that's the only word I can think of right now. But if you've seen this movie, you know the deal. And this last one I got was a pre-order I got off of Amazon. And luckily I was able to grab it for a little less than it wound up going for. You know how sometimes the pre-orders will go for a little less. And then they'll figure out the price when it comes out. So I picked up Do the Right Thing. Spike Lee, possibly my favorite Spike Lee movie, I think. And this is such a gorgeous release. Look at the colors, just like the movie. It's just, obviously this camera doesn't do it justice because this camera sucks, but it's got this in here, and then the big huge booklet, which most of it is actually a journal from Spike Lee while he was filming, which is really, really cool. And this is just a really nice release that I'm glad got the Criterion treatment. It was well deserved. Do the Right Thing. If you haven't seen this movie, go check it out. It's iconic and just brilliantly written and shot and directed and very prevalent. So pick this up as well. And then today, so this mic needs an adapter for the device. And the adapter broke today, so I had to go to Best Buy to get a new one, which is $10, and I wound up spending $330 with tax at Best Buy because I can't control myself. So I have a small collection of 4Ks, and I still needed a 4K player, so while I was there, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna bite the bullet and buy a 4K player. So that's what I did. I bought a 4K player. And anyway, in that 4K player, it came with two movies. So originally I didn't have any 4Ks for this update, but now I do. And they're two really good movies, actually. Well, one of them I haven't seen, but I'll show you. But one of them I already opened because I heard the disc sliding around, so I wanted to open it to fix it. And that was a movie that had no business being as good and funny as it was. Jumanji, Welcome Back to the Jungle. No, it's not called Welcome Back to the Jungle. It's called Welcome to the Jungle. And I wanted to get this for a while, but I hadn't picked it up yet. Originally, I just saw it because I wanted to support Alex Wolff, who has been killing it recently, like really killing it. and I wanted to support him, but The Rock, Jack Black, Kevin Hart, just like the chemistry between these four on screen is really, really good. It's funny. It's just a good flick. And if you haven't checked it out, I would. It was way better than I was expecting. I was really expecting to like have to sit down and bear this movie, but no, it was fun. And the other one is one that I haven't watched, and every time I tell somebody I haven't watched this, they look at me like I just smoked crack. And they say I need to see it. I've heard literally nothing but good things about this, and it's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I'm probably actually going to watch this tonight because it's about time. The only I know two things about this movie. One, the main character's name is Miles Morales, and two, there's a scene where he's kind of floating, but they're like, he's not falling, he's floating, or he's not falling, I don't know, but it's a really cool shot I saw a gif of. But yeah, I'm really stoked to watch that, and it's cool that it came for free with that 4K player, even though I'm sure it was included in the price. But still, it's two movies I didn't have, one I really love and one I'm sure that I'll love. So yeah, that's everything that I picked up over the last month or so. I know I used to have a channel a while back. I probably posted the last video about a year ago, but YouTube deleted it, and then I got really, like, I never really got a response of why they deleted the channel, and I got really discouraged, so I just kind of stopped posting. So it was also like a really bad time with school and work and stuff. So I just decided to come back because it's a much better time. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Not that anybody really cares. But yeah, so if you like this video, please subscribe. There will be more like it. Leave a comment below, whatever. I feel like I'm filming 8th grade right now. I feel like this is so awkward. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.